Okay, I'll come in here away from that squawking bird. You can still hear her in the background, but maybe not as bad. The last few days I've been reloading some bullets in the evening, watching movies and things, and before bed. And I've been wanting to do some of my 4440s. I cast my own bullets out of the softest lead I can find. Wheel weights are a little hard for hunting with, but they work good for plinking. But nowadays, the wheel weights you buy or you can get are steel, so that won't work. The old ones are getting harder and harder to come by. I've got a fair amount of lead built up though, but this is what they look like. And if you look, see that little groove right there in the middle? That is supposed to have lead, or lube in it. And what that does, especially with black powder, is it keeps your barrel from collecting lead, but it also keeps your powder fouling softer, so it's easier to clean and doesn't build up as bad every shot. With smokeless powder, you don't have to worry about the buildup, but you do have to lubricate the bullet to keep it from leading up the barrel. And what that means is that the lead will actually plug the rifle grooves and cause it to be less accurate. But with black powder, the powder fouling is a big issue, so it needs to be a softer type of lube than your smokeless ones. The smokeless ones are usually a harder wax. They got canuba oil or wax in there. I'm not sure how you say that. It's the same wax, that red wax you find on some cheeses. That's the same stuff, but that's only one ingredient with their bullet lube. There's other stuff in it too. With black powder, I use 50-50 tallow and beeswax, and I do have another recipe in here I'll put on I made up a little while back, but I'm not sure I like that as much. It's a lot softer and a little bit harder to use. I was lucky enough, a friend of mine shot a buffalo years ago, and I rendered the fat from his buffalo into tallow, so that's what I've been using for probably the last 10 years or so. So anyway, I'll show you how I lube these. You can use a lubricizer machine, which you run through a die and it presses wax into your bullet, as well as sizes the bullet on each one bullet at a time. But generally I don't do that. I pan lube them, and I'll show you what I mean by that. This is another recipe I got out of a magazine. I don't like it quite as well. It's pretty soft. But it does work, and it's good for both smokeless and black powder. So to pan lube bullets, this is my bullet lube, the homemade stuff. It's beeswax and tallow. You want a double boiler. So I've got the chamber pot, but it works good. The coffee can doesn't tip over easy into it. And as far as I know, it's never been used, at least not by us, and if it was used, it was a very long time ago. So if you put the wax directly on the heat, it'll burn, and you don't want that. So in a double burner, I put it on high on a hot plate on the stove and just drop my coffee can with the wax into it and let it melt. Alright, so the first step is to line up all your bullets onto a plastic container. It helps if the container is tapered a little bit on the sides so you can get the wax out. This one doesn't lay flat, so I got paint stirring sticks underneath it. But these bullets are stood up, pointed end up into here. This little hole here, you'll see in a second, is for the funnel to go into. And what you do is you pour wax in there so it covers up this groove here. And then you have to let it harden. So here in a second when my wax melts, so we'll pour it. So the wax is melted. This funnel is all I use this for is bullets. I cut a slot in there so I can put it directly down onto the plastic and it runs out the sides. That way I'm not splashing it around and knocking these over. So I'm going to grab this wax here and we'll pour them. And that's that. Once you got to make sure that all of the grooves are covered. Some of these, I think they are. It's hard to tell from this angle. But once this hardens, then you just push them out with your thumb and your bullets are all lubricated. So as soon as this gets done, we'll come back and do that. You want to make sure to leave these spaced about an inch apart, more or less. Otherwise, what happens when you go to push them out, they crack in between and the lube doesn't stay in the grooves. So once the wax is cooled and hardened up, you can pop it loose out of the container you got it in, like that. And then all you do is you push the bullets out, and the wax stays in that little groove in the middle, and that's all there is to it, really. You just shove them out of there. Now these are not sized. A lubricizer will size them down, so you have to make sure that your bullet mold throws the bullets out the right size. But most of them are pretty darn close. That bird has been quiet all morning. I turn this on and start talking, and look what happens. So it's a pretty simple thing. So if there's a bullet that doesn't fill all the way and the wax isn't in that groove, you can take your thumb and rub a little bit in there as you load them. But mostly this works pretty slick and it's quick and easy to do. That didn't take long at all. So now these are ready to load. So now, of course, I'll melt this wax down again and do some more. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.